There's a fire inside every woman, a potential waiting to be fully unleashed. But often we carry invisible chains, habits, fears, and thoughts that quietly hold us back. Becoming unstoppable doesn't happen by adding more. It happens by releasing what no longer serves us. If you truly want to rise, evolve, and lead your life with unshakable strength, you must learn the art of letting go. In this video, we will explore 5 powerful things a woman must release to unlock her unshakable self. The fear of judgment is one of the most powerful, invisible prisons that holds women back from their true potential. It's not always loud or obvious, it creeps in silently, shaping the choices we make, the words we hold back, the dreams we quietly bury. So many women grow up conditioned to believe they must always be acceptable to others, that their worth is tied to being liked, to being approved, to being good in the eyes of society, family, friends, and sometimes even strangers. This fear shapes behavior in ways that feel small at first. Avoiding confrontation, saying yes when they really mean no, suppressing opinions to maintain harmony. But over time, these small compromises become patterns, and those patterns quietly erase parts of who they truly are. Living under the weight of other people's expectations is exhausting. It's like carrying a bag of stones, each one representing someone else's opinion about what you should be, how you should act, or who you should love. The tragedy is that by trying to please everyone, you start to lose yourself. You dress a certain way because it's appropriate. You choose a career because it's safe. You stay silent because it's polite. And before you know it, you've built a life that fits perfectly into the mold that others wanted for you, but it feels hollow, disconnected from your real desires. What's even more painful is that the fear of judgment never really goes away, even when you do everything right. You can sacrifice your authenticity, follow all the rules, live for approval, and still find that someone will disapprove, someone will gossip, someone will misunderstand you. The truth is, no matter what you do, you can't control how others see you. You could live your whole life trying to be perfect in their eyes and still be criticized, so why waste your precious energy on an impossible task? The moment a woman begins to release this fear is the moment she starts to live. It doesn't mean she stops caring altogether. It means she begins to care more about her own voice, her own peace, her own growth than about fitting into a box that was never meant for her. She starts making decisions based on her truth, not based on what will make her the least controversial or the most likable. She starts dressing in ways that make her feel alive, not in ways that make her invisible. She starts speaking even when her voice shakes, because her truth is more valuable than her comfort. Letting go of the fear of judgment is not about becoming reckless or arrogant. It's about becoming free. Free to follow what genuinely matters. Free to fail. Free to be seen, fully and imperfectly. When a woman steps into that freedom, she becomes unstoppable. Not because the world suddenly accepts her, but because she finally accepts herself. And in that acceptance, she finds a power no one can take away. Carrying the weight of past mistakes is like dragging a heavy chain behind you. One that slows your steps and clouds your vision of what's possible. For so many women, the hardest person to forgive is themselves. They replay old memories, old decisions, and old failures over and over, as if punishing themselves will somehow bring peace. But the truth is, no amount of self-punishment can change what's already done. The past is unchangeable, but your relationship with it is entirely in your control. What often holds women back is not the mistake itself, but the story they continue to tell themselves about that mistake. They believe they are forever broken, forever guilty, forever defined by that one moment when they stumbled, but you are not your worst moment. You are not the decision you made when you didn't know better. You are not the person you used to be. Growth is real. Transformation is possible. And no matter how heavy your past feels, it does not get to write the ending of your story. Mistakes are part of life's natural process of learning and evolving. Without missteps, there is no growth. Without failure, there is no progress. Yet, society often teaches women to hold themselves to impossible standards, to never fail, to never fall, to always be perfect. And when they inevitably make mistakes, they carry shame like a scarlet letter, believing they are now unworthy of love, success, or happiness. What's even more painful is that this shame often leads women to self-sabotage. They believe they don't deserve good things, so they settle for less. They believe they aren't worthy of love, so they stay in relationships where they're treated poorly. They believe they can't recover, so they stop trying. It becomes a cycle, a silent prison that they've unknowingly built with their own hands. But freedom begins when a woman decides to stop carrying the past as a burden and instead carries it as wisdom. Every mistake you've made can either be a weight that drags you down or a stepping stone that lifts you higher. The choice is yours. When you begin to see your past as a teacher instead of a life sentence, you start to unlock a new level of peace and power. You can look back without self-hatred. You can remember without shame. You can tell your story without apologizing for it. Forgiveness is not saying the mistake was okay. It's saying that you are worthy of moving forward. It's saying that you are allowed to grow beyond what you didn't know. It's understanding that the version of you who made that mistake was operating with the tools, knowledge, and awareness she had at the time. You have new tools now. You have new wisdom now. You can choose differently now. And that choice makes you unstoppable. When a woman truly lets go of the weight of her past mistakes, she becomes lighter, freer, and more powerful than ever. She steps boldly into her future, not as someone who's broken, but as someone who's beautifully rebuilt. Toxic relationships are one of the most silent but destructive forces that can hold a woman back from becoming truly unstoppable. Sometimes these relationships are obvious, the ones filled with disrespect, manipulation, and emotional harm. But more often they are subtle, wrapped in the disguise of love, friendship, or loyalty. They may not scream abuse, but they quietly drain your energy, your confidence, and your joy. A toxic relationship doesn't always look like a disaster. Sometimes it looks like a friend who always belittles your dreams, a partner who only supports you when it's convenient for them, or a family member who constantly reminds you of your failures instead of your strengths. And because these connections can feel familiar, they are often the hardest to let go of. Women are often taught to be the glue in relationships, to fix, to forgive, to hold on, no matter how much it costs them. Walking away can feel like betrayal, especially when you've invested time, love, and effort. But the truth is, loyalty to someone who continuously drains you is a betrayal of yourself. You cannot fully step into your power while dragging people who are committed to keeping you small. The people around you either light your fire or slowly extinguish it. There is rarely a middle ground. The danger of toxic relationships is that they make you question your own worth and your own reality. They plant seeds of self-doubt, making you wonder if you're too sensitive, too ambitious, too demanding. You begin to shrink yourself to keep the peace. You lower your standards to feel loved. You tolerate behavior you would never recommend to another woman. And in the process, you begin to lose sight of who you are and what you deserve. Letting go of toxic people is not cruel. It's necessary. It's a sacred act of self-respect. Some people are only meant to be part of your story for a season. And when that season ends, clinging to them will only create suffering. You cannot heal in the same environment that is hurting you. You cannot grow when you're surrounded by people who don't want to see you rise. And you cannot thrive when you constantly have to dim your light to make others feel comfortable. The moment you begin to release toxic relationships, something powerful happens. You create space for peace, for new connections, for your own growth. You may find yourself walking alone for a while, but that loneliness is temporary. The right people, the ones who uplift, inspire, and love you without conditions, will find their way to you. But they cannot enter if your life is already full of people who take more than they give. Releasing toxic connections is not about revenge or anger. It's about choosing yourself. It's about recognizing that you are worthy of relationships that nourish your soul, that celebrate your wins, that support your healing. When you clear out the people who drain you, you rise faster, you shine brighter, and you walk lighter. A woman who is free from toxic ties is truly unstoppable because nothing is holding her back anymore. Not guilt, not fear, not chains disguised as love. Self-doubt is one of the most dangerous barriers a woman can face on her journey to becoming unstoppable. It doesn't always come as a loud, obvious voice telling you that you can't. It often arises as a quiet whisper in the back of your mind, questioning whether you're enough, whether you're capable, whether you deserve to succeed. It's that nagging hesitation that creeps in just when you're about to take a bold step, convincing you to play small, stay safe, or wait until you're more ready. But the truth is, self-doubt is a liar. It disguises itself as protection. But what it really does is rob you of opportunities, growth, and the life you are meant to live. Many women grow up internalizing the belief that they need to have all the answers before they start, that they need to be perfect to be worthy, that they need permission to dream big. This belief system feeds self-doubt like fire needs oxygen. It convinces them to sit on the sidelines of their own lives, watching others chase dreams while they stay frozen, wondering if they measure up. But here's the reality. Confidence does not come from waiting. It does not arrive wrapped in certainty or perfect timing. Confidence is built through action. The more you move, the more you prove to yourself that you are capable. The more you try, the more you silence the voices that tell you you can't. Self-doubt thrives in stillness. It grows stronger when you hesitate, when you second guess, when you delay. It feeds on your inaction, becoming louder the longer you wait. But the moment you take even the smallest step forward, you start to disrupt that pattern. Action interrupts doubt. Every time you try, every time you show up despite your fears, you chip away at the belief that you're not enough. It's not about being fearless. It's about moving forward while fear is still present. Fear can ride in the car with you, but it no longer gets to sit in the driver's seat. What many women don't realize is that the people they admire, the ones who seem so confident and fearless, also experience self-doubt. The difference is, they don't allow that doubt to dictate their lives. They feel it and they act anyway. They understand that self-trust is a muscle that must be built through repetition, through showing up, through failing and rising and trying again. Letting go of self-doubt means rewriting the narrative you've been told about yourself. It means recognizing that your value is not tied to flawless execution or constant success. Your value is in your resilience, your willingness to learn, your courage to begin again and again. You don't need to wait for perfect confidence to start. You need to start to build that confidence. You don't need to have all the answers. You need to trust that you will figure it out as you go. When a woman releases self-doubt, she steps into her own power. She no longer asks the world for permission to be great. She understands that her voice matters, that her dreams are valid, and that her steps, no matter how shaky, are leading her towards something extraordinary. And in that understanding, she becomes truly unstoppable. The need for perfection is one of the most suffocating chains that silently holds women back from becoming unstoppable. It's an illusion that whispers you're not ready yet. You're not good enough yet. You can't begin until everything is flawless. This pursuit of perfection convinces women to delay their dreams, to stay in preparation mode, to endlessly fix, refine, and polish, waiting for the day when everything will finally feel just right. But here's the truth. That day never comes. Perfection is a moving target. The more you chase it, the further it moves. It is a trap that keeps you frozen in fear, trapped in your own mind, and distant from the life you truly want. Society often glorifies perfection, especially for women. There is pressure to look perfect, act perfect, speak perfectly, balance everything flawlessly, and never make mistakes. This pressure can feel overwhelming, yet many women try to meet these impossible standards. They push themselves to exhaustion, trying to meet expectations that no human can realistically achieve. And what happens? They burn out, they give up, or they settle for less because the weight of doing everything perfectly feels too heavy to carry. But what women need to realize is that the most powerful version of themselves is not born out of perfection. It is born out of action, out of mistakes, out of resilience. Perfection holds women hostage. It convinces them that if they can just fix one more thing, if they can just wait a little longer, they will finally be good enough to begin. But the truth is, perfection is not the requirement for success. Progress is, growth is, consistency is. The woman who dares to show up imperfectly will always go further than the one who waits endlessly for the perfect moment. Life rewards the bold, not the flawless. When you let go of the need for perfection, you give yourself permission to be human. You open the door to creativity, to trying new things, to failing without shame, and to rising with even more wisdom. Mistakes stop being evidence that you are not good enough. They become signs that you are moving, that you are learning, that you are alive. Every imperfect step you take is still a step forward. Every flaw you reveal is a step in the story that makes you real, relatable, and truly powerful. What women often don't see is that perfection can actually push people away. Perfect people are intimidating, distant, unapproachable. But someone who is willing to be real, to show their flaws, to admit when they don't have it all figured out, that's the person who inspires others. That's the woman who builds genuine connections, who leads with authenticity, who gives others permission to be real too. When you stop chasing perfection, you start chasing what actually matters. Progress, purpose, passion, peace. You begin to trust the process instead of fearing the outcome. You start to enjoy the journey instead of obsessing over the destination. And slowly, you realize that your power was never in being flawless. It was in daring to keep going even when you're not. That is what makes a woman truly unstoppable. Comparison is a silent thief. It quietly creeps into your life, stealing your joy, your peace, and your focus without you even realizing it. In today's world, where social media constantly flashes images of people's successes, perfect bodies, beautiful relationships, luxurious vacations, and picture-perfect lives, the temptation to compare yourself is almost impossible to avoid. But the truth is, comparison is a trap. It blinds you to your own journey and tricks you into believing that you are not doing enough, not achieving enough, not becoming enough. When you constantly measure your life against someone else's highlight reel, you start to minimize your own progress, your own beauty, your own value. The problem with comparison is that it's never fair. You compare your behind the scenes, your struggles, your fears, and your setbacks with someone else's carefully curated moments of success. You see their victory, but not their sacrifices. You see their confidence, but not their battles with insecurity. You see their results, but not their sleepless nights, their failures, or the countless times they wanted to quit. Comparison convinces you that you're falling behind, but the reality is, you're not even running the same race. Every woman has her own path, her own timeline, her own story, and her own purpose. You were not born to replicate someone else's life. You were born to fully live your own. When you fall into the trap of comparison, it poisons your self-worth. It tells you that your pace isn't fast enough, your progress isn't good enough, your success isn't big enough. It slowly erodes your gratitude for what you have and shifts your focus to what you think you lack. You begin to see life as a competition, constantly measuring yourself against others, and in that space, happiness becomes impossible to hold on to. You stop seeing your small wins. You stop appreciating your unique growth, and you start living for validation instead of fulfillment. The only way to break free from the comparison trap is to shift your focus inward. Instead of looking sideways to measure your worth, look at who you were yesterday and who you are becoming today. Your only competition is the past version of yourself. True growth is about progress, not about perfection. It's about taking the next step on your own path, not about catching up to someone else's journey. When you start to focus on your own timeline, you begin to realize that your story is unfolding exactly as it should. There is so much power in embracing your own pace. Flowers do not rush their bloom because another flower has blossomed nearby. They bloom when it's their time, and so do you. Your timing is sacred. Your journey is valid. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right where you need to be. Letting go of comparison frees you to celebrate others without questioning your own worth. It allows you to walk with confidence, with peace, with gratitude. A woman who no longer competes with others becomes unstoppable because she finally stands fully in her own light. Becoming unstoppable is not about adding more to your life. It's about releasing what holds you back.